Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the President of Yale University, the Commanding Officer of Yale Naval Reserve Officers Training Corps, and Commander of Yale Air Force Reserve Officers Training Corps, welcome to the annual President's Review. At this time, we'd like to specifically acknowledge and thank representatives in attendance from Fairfield University, Quinnipiac University, Sacred Heart University, Southern Connecticut State University, Wesleyan University, Western Connecticut State University, and the University of New Haven. To you and to all distinguished guests, families, and friends, welcome. Today's music is provided by the United States Navy Band Northeast. Today's review is conducted by the Midshipmen and Cadets of Yale Army, Naval, and Air Force Reserve Officers Training Corps. Present-day reviews have their basis in both history and tradition. The massed formation of troops on one long line at close interval made possible the massing of firepower from muzzle-loaded muskets of yesterday. In those early days, the line of battle was just that, a line of 2 or 3 ranks, and looked much like the parade formation you will see today. The adjutant forms the line for battle. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the arrival of the official party. Army Reserves Officer Training Corps, University of Connecticut, arriving. Air Force Reserve Officers Training Corps Detachment 009, arriving. Naval Reserve Officers Training Corps Unit Yale University, arriving. Yale University, arriving. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the posting of the colors, the national anthem, and the invocation. Chaplain Jenny Peak, Yale University Senior Associate Chaplain, will now give the invocation.
Will those who wish to pray please join me in prayer? Loving God, whom we know by many names, we gather here today thankful for another year of service. You have seen us through another year, moments of triumph and moments of struggle, moments of growth and moments of challenge, moments that have connected us to our deep sense of purpose and service, and moments of truly exceptional achievement. Through it all, you remain steadfast, and we made it to this day. Thank you. Thank you for the mentors, professors, and officers who helped us believe in ourselves. Thank you for the family, both given and found, that stood by us and stand by us still. Thank you for the inner strength you kindled within us that helped us get through early mornings, late nights, and long days of work and study. As we begin this review, Embolden these students to lead with pride, compassion, and humility. Give them your wisdom, confidence, and courage. Help them to know how grateful we are for their dedication, and remind them of their strength and purpose today and every day forward. Together in our many voices and many faiths, we say, Amen.
Please be seated. The President's Review has several purposes. First, it serves to honor and thank the leadership of the universities that host and support our units. This event also serves as an opportunity to recognize the achievements of the midshipmen and cadets you see here today, who have distinguished themselves during the academic year. Ladies and gentlemen, Commanding Officer, Yale University Naval Reserve Officers Training Corps, Captain Bill Johnson.
Good morning, President McInnis, leaders from our crosstown universities, fellow ROTC commanders, administration, faculty, staff, Yale alumni, ROTC supporters, awards presenters representing a host of institutions, members of our Yale's Veteran Network and Yale's Veteran Association, friends, family, midshipmen and cadets. Thank you so much for being here today. The President's Review is a great opportunity to showcase our midshipmen and cadets, to recognize some of the top performers, and celebrate our 2026 graduates and future second lieutenants and ensigns in the United States Army, Marine Corps, Navy, Air Force, and Space Force. I want to give a special thanks out to Midshipman Flynn, who is our midshipman responsible for coordinating and planning this event. He did a phenomenal job. A huge thanks to Mr. Ed Walters and Liz Villadaki. Their titles of supply tech and executive admin do not even come close to describing what they do to put this event together and really run our ROTC unit. Thanks to Captain Johnson, who's the MC for today, as well as soon-to-be Gunnery Sergeant Gray. He gets promoted in 2 weeks, which made sure our midshipmen cadets look so sharp out here today. And a real big thanks to the Navy Band Northeast. Thanks for making the trek out here from Newport and really putting on a phenomenal performance. Really appreciate that. Last year, my remarks focused on the overlap of Yale history and military history, specifically during World War II, where both institutions, our military and Yale University, had a synergistic relationship that benefited both of them during a time of great challenge in our nation. Today, I'm going to continue that theme of military history and the overlap with Yale, but I'm focused on two different aspects. Number one, the start of the Reserve Officer Training Corps. 2026 marks the 100th anniversary of Naval ROTC in the United States. So in 1926, the Navy established the Naval Reserve Officer Training Program at 6 units across the country, and Yale being one of those original 6. Army started their ROTC program about a decade earlier in 1917, and again, Yale was one of those first. And the same year that the Air Force was formed out of the Army Air Corps in 1947, an Air Force ROTC program was established at Yale. The fact that Yale was always at the front of the line when our nation called for the development of military leaders speaks to the tremendous mindset of service that Yale has. And that brings me to my second aspect of military history and the overlap with Yale I'd like to share. In 1916, just 13 years after the Wright brothers flew the first flight, Truby Davison, a sophomore at Yale, gathered together 11 of his Yale classmates to start the Yale Aero Club. With a fascination of the possibilities of aviation and a strong motivation to serve their country, the dozen of them, essentially on their own, spent the summer of 1916 learning to fly, learning the engineering aspects of a plane, a Curtiss Model F flying boat off the north coast of Long Island. Over the next 9 months, they grew to 29 members and were officially brought into the military service, commissioning as ensigns and becoming the very first Naval Air Reserve unit in the United States Navy in the spring of 1917, just 2 weeks before our nation entered World War I. They were known as the first Yale unit, and they were essentially a Navy experiment in military aviation, tasked with proving the worth of naval aircraft in wartime. Later that summer, with just about a year of experience in flying, they earned their wings of gold and the first Yale unit received orders sending them overseas to establish an Air Force in Europe. All the members met with varying degrees of success, with a lot of firsts achieved in naval aviation by all of them, including the future Admiral David Ingalls being the very first naval flying ace. Some members of the first Yale unit gave the ultimate sacrifice as well, with their names now engraved in the walls of the rotunda at Schwartzman. Coming back from war, many continued to serve our nation, some with future service in World War II. There was an Assistant Secretary of the Navy that came out of that bunch, Assistant Secretary of War, Undersecretary of the Navy, a Secretary of Defense, and a Congressman. These amazing heroes of 100+ years ago have much in common with the cadets and midshipmen we have in front of us today. A strong sense of duty, honor, and country. A feeling that those where much is given, much is expected. A dedication to service, to making a difference, to having an impact. An undying loyalty to our country and to each other. It is awesome to see that proud legacy of the first Yale unit carry on today through our midshipmen and cadets and the future leaders of our military. And speaking of leaders, I'd like to turn the microphone over to an absolutely tremendous leader at Yale University who has a steady hand at the helm and whose wisdom is guiding Yale through some arguably tumultuous waters. President Maurie McInnis, the 24th president of Yale University, is our reviewing official and host for today's ceremony. She has far too many accolades to list out today, but I just want to share one pertinent fact, and that she's a daughter of a proud Air Force veteran. President McInnis, thank you for supporting our veterans and ROTC units on campus, and thank you for continuing to foster that sense of service among the faculty and students here at this amazing institution. So ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming President McInnis.
Thank you, Captain Johnson, for that introduction and for your recounting of the first Yale's unit's amazing stories. Their daring and their ingenuity encapsulate what Yale has always tried to offer our nation and what we're still offering in the form of our ROTC community that we are recognizing today. So I have some history of my own to share. Next month, we'll celebrate Yale's 325th commencement. And a couple of months after that, we'll commemorate the 250th anniversary of American independence. The intersection of these two momentous anniversaries offers us a chance to remember that at the time of the American Revolution, 20% of Yale's living graduates volunteered to fight. Though they had all gone to the same college, they were an eclectic bunch. One was a middle-aged physician who never saw the battlefield. One was a paymaster who shivered through Valley Forge. Another was a surgeon who tended to the wounded during the Battle of Long Island and Tryon's raid in New Haven. Yet another was a captain who was taken prisoner when Benedict Arnold attacked New London. Two were aides to General George Washington. Several were commissary officers, many were chaplains, and 4 signed the Declaration of Independence. Each of them, in their own way, did their part to secure the hope of democracy for a new nation. I am consistently moved by these stories of service, as I am frequently reminded of stories of service from my own family. As was mentioned, my father was a Judge Advocate General in the Air Force, and my great-uncle was a Brigadier General in the Air Force named Haskell E. Neal. We called him Uncle Hack. As a child, he had been fascinated by a new invention of that time called the radio. So much so that at the age of 12, he built his own radio receiver. So naturally, when he enlisted in the Army Air Corps in 1928, as a private, he decided to specialize in communications. It wasn't exactly the kind of work they make movies about, but it was crucial work nonetheless, because he had to make sure that accurate and timely information could cut through the fog of war and the smoke of battle. In 1942, when American soldiers landed in northern Africa to drive out the Axis invaders, Uncle Hack was in charge of relaying messages across the region. And in the tenuous peace after the Second World War, he helped set up radar stations in the Arctic called the Distant Early Warning Line, which would alert the Pentagon in the event of a Soviet invasion. Our families were close, and I remember that even though he had been out of uniform for years by the time I knew him, he still carried himself with the bearing of a general and with the spirit of leadership through service. I am proud of what he contributed to the defense of freedom. Now, I am also an art historian, and so when I think about all the different ways that people have served our nation over the past 2.5 centuries, I'm reminded of an observation from an architectural historian and theorist named Lewis Mumford. In 1924, he wrote an influential book about the history of the architecture of this region called Sticks and Stones. And he described the cohesion of colonial architecture in New England in this way: the fine style that brings all the houses into harmony, no matter how diverse the purposes they served, was the outcome of a common spirit. A common spirit. That is also what unites the varied service of all Yaleys in the American Revolution, with my Uncle Hack, and with all of our ROTC cadets and midshipmen here today. Cadets, midshipmen, each of you will serve our nation in your own way. Helping you figure out that unique way is the purpose of a university, just as a university helps all of its students find the special work that only they can do. But you will all pursue your particular work, joined with the common spirit of every veteran who has served before you, and with the common spirit of every man and woman with whom you will serve. I hope that you will let that spirit guide you, and I hope that you will make it your own. Thank you for your commitment to our country, and thank you all for joining us this morning.
We will now begin with the presentation of awards. The commanding officers and President McInnis will take their place in the reviewing area. The Veterans of Foreign Wars Award. This award recognizes one midshipman and one cadet who demonstrate a positive attitude towards ROTC, outstanding professional attributes, and officer potential. This year's Army ROTC recipient is Cadet Eric Lee. Naval recipient is Midshipman Miles Moore. Air Force recipient is Cadet Meili Zhang. The General Society of the War of 1812 Award is presented by Mr. Lee Tryon, Secretary-Treasurer of the General Society of the War of 1812 in the state of Connecticut. This award recognizes one midshipman and one cadet who represent the cherishing, maintenance, and extension of the institutions of American freedom and foster true patriotism and love of country. This year's Army recipient is Cadet Alexandrine Herrig. Naval recipient is Midshipman Gabriel Sachs. Air Force recipient is Cadet Malia Hill. The Yale Veterans Association True to Her Traditions Award is presented by Mr. Samson Cohen, Yale College Class of 2015, Mr. Philip Kaplan, Yale College Class of 2012, and Yale Law School Class of 2020, and Ms. Carolina Bertel, Yale College 2027. The mission of Yale University is to educate leaders. Additionally, Yale has a long and glorious tradition of service and defense of our nation. The Yale Veterans Association is very pleased to present its True to Her Traditions Leadership Award to honor and commemorate these ideals to the midshipmen and cadet who have demonstrated a strong commitment to them over the past year. This year's Army recipient is Cadet Vinay Pendry. Naval recipient is Midshipman Eliza Kim. Air Force recipient is Cadet Giselle Gearing. The Yale Veterans Network Annual ROTC Award presented by Mr. Devin Riley of the Yale Veterans Network. In the spirit of the Yale Veterans Network charge to connect veterans on campus, this award recognizes one midshipman and one cadet who have demonstrated commitment to the Yale ROTC program through outstanding leadership, discipline, character, citizenship, and academic achievement. This year's Army recipient is Cadet Abigail Brown, Navy recipient is Midshipman Gavin Copper, and the Air Force recipient is Cadet Jack Thompson. The Order of the Purple Heart National Leadership Award, presented by Mr. Mike Perron of the Order of the Purple Heart State Commander. This award recognizes the leadership ability of one midshipman and one cadet enrolled in the University ROTC program. This year's Army recipient is Cadet Lillian Deriveau. The Naval recipient is Midshipman Aiden Pomano, and Air Force recipient is Cadet Samantha Tischler. The Rear Admiral Frederick B. Warder Award for Outstanding Achievement, presented by Mr. Kevin Galeese, President of the Naval Submarine League Nautilus Chapter. The Rear Admiral Frederick B. Warder Award for Outstanding Achievement, established in 1986, recognizes a graduating Naval ROTC senior approved for entry into the Navy's nuclear propulsion program as a submarine officer. The awardee has demonstrated superior, sustained performance in a difficult and challenging academic and operational environment, and as a result has earned the commanding officer's nomination for this distinctive award. This year's recipient is Midshipman Alex Montegudo. The Corporal Langton Laws Crickets Award, presented by Mr. William Mitchell, Yale Law School Class of 2028. Corporal Ricketts graduated from Yale College in 1916 and was killed in action during World War I at Mont Blanc in 1918. A decorated Marine who was the recipient of the Croix de Guerre. All accounts maintain that Corporal Ricketts had a knack for maintaining his wits in the face of chaos. Importantly, he was an enlisted man, a non-commissioned officer. NCOs are the backbone of the Marine Corps. More than any other service, the Marines place special trust and confidence in the abilities of their junior most enlisted leadership. It is this sort of Marine that the recipient of the Corporal Langdon Laws Ricketts Award will be called upon to lead shortly after their graduation from Yale College. The year's recipient is Midshipman Isha Bolar. The Robert N. Tharp Award, presented by Mr. Kevin Gunther. Robert N. Tharp was an esteemed teacher and mentor to generations of Air Force language specialists. This award recognizes a Yale Air Force ROTC cadet for excellence in academic achievement and for inspiring others toward global cultural awareness. This year's recipient is Cadet Savannah Eastler. The Yale Veterans Association Class of 1966 Award, presented by Mr. Tom O'Blandon. This award is awarded to a Naval ROTC student who possesses a demonstrated leadership ability and who has earned the respect of Yale classmates inside and outside of the Naval ROTC program. Through their efforts, they have materially contributed to bridging the civilian-military divide, and by exerting leadership in both spheres, have enhanced the prestige of the Naval ROTC program on campus and reinforced the Yale tradition of engaging in service to society. This year's recipient is Eliza Allison. The Admiral David S. Ingalls Leadership Award, presented by Mr. Redmond S. Ingalls, Yale College, class of 1998, and grandson of Admiral David S. Ingalls. David S. Ingalls, Yale College, class of 1920, was the Navy's first ace, with 5 confirmed kills in World War I. He later served as Assistant Secretary of the Navy for Aeronautics, where he tripled the number of Navy aircraft while advocating for a fully deployable carrier task force. At Yale, he twice captained the men's hockey team. The Admiral David S. Ingalls Award recognizes a senior Yale Naval ROTC midshipman who shows uncommon ability and leadership potential. This year's recipient is Midshipman Regina Obnial. The Brigadier General Enoch Woody Woodhouse Wingman Spirit Award, presented by Colonel Holly Hermes. This prestigious award, presented to an outstanding Air Force cadet who embodies the positive attributes, strength in adversity, and relentless optimism exemplified by Brigadier General Enoch Woody Woodhouse. The recipient of this award is not only a dedicated wingman, but also a beacon of integrity, consistently choosing to do the right thing, even in the face of challenges. The year's recipient is Cadet Andrian Katie Callow. The Joseph W. Gordon Class of 1978 Service and Leadership Award, presented by Dean George Levesque. This award presented to an outstanding cadet or midshipman who embodies the leadership traits, commitment to scholarship, and dedication to service in all its forms, exemplified by Joseph W. Gordon, PhD, Class of 1978, a champion of the veteran and military community at Yale. This award recognizes the student's academic excellence, service to others, and examples heading through collaboration, teamwork, and compassion. This year's recipient is Midshipman Atticus Chan. The Yale Veterans ROTC Fund Award, presented by Dr. Maurie McInnis, President of Yale University. This award recognizes a Yale senior in the Army, Naval, and Air Force ROTC units who are in good standing in their unit with excellent academic and military performance records. This year's Army ROTC recipient is Staff Sergeant Tia Graham. The Marine Corps recipient is Gunnery Sergeant Brandon Chu. Navy recipient is Midshipman Andrew Turkelson, and the Air Force recipient is Cadet Zoe Durant, and the Space Force recipient is Cadet Kylan Smith. This concludes the individual award presentations. To our midshipmen and cadets who are undertaking extra academic coursework, undergoing physical training, and participating in numerous community events, and who willingly have pledged to serve their country upon graduation, please join me in giving them a round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now recognize the class of 2026. Please hold your applause until everyone has been recognized. Staff Sergeant Tia Graham from Perkin, Illinois, service assignment, military intelligence. First assignment, Fort Huachuca, Arizona. Midshipman Alexander Adams from Annapolis, Maryland, of Ezra Stiles College. Service assignment, naval aviator. First assignment, naval introductory flight evaluation, Naval Air Station, Pensacola, Florida. Gunnery Sergeant Brandon Chew from Hillsboro, Oregon, of Grace Hopper College. Service assignment, Marine aviator. First assignment, the Basic School, Quantico, Virginia. Midshipman Gavin Copper from Jacksonville, Florida, of Davenport College. Service assignment, naval aviator. First assignment, naval introductory flight evaluation, Naval Air Station, Pensacola, Florida. Midshipman Carter Hamilton from Alexandria, Virginia. Service assignment, naval aviator. First assignment, naval introductory flight evaluation, Naval Air Station, Pensacola, Florida. Midshipman Alex Montegudo from Jacksonville, Florida, of Ezra Stiles College. Service assignment, submarine warfare officer. First assignment, Naval Nuclear Power School, Joint Base Charleston, South Carolina. Midshipman Regina Obnial from Port Orchard, Washington, of Davenport College. Service assignment, naval aviator. First assignment, naval introductory flight evaluation, Naval Air Station, Pensacola, Florida. Midshipman Aiden Pomano from Sugar Land, Texas, of Benjamin Franklin College. Service assignment, Naval Reactors Engineer. First assignment, Naval Reactors Headquarters, Washington Navy Yard, District of Columbia. Cadet Celie Addison from Oakwood, Ohio, of Grace Hopper College. Service assignment, Intelligence. First assignment, Intelligence School, Goodfellow Air Force Base, Texas. Cadet Michael Ozzie from New Fairfield, Connecticut, of Western Connecticut State University. Service assignment, Intelligence Officer. First assignment, Intelligence School, Goodfellow Air Force Base, Texas. Cadet Zoe Duran from Norton, Massachusetts, of Silliman College. Service assignment, Pilot. First assignment, Pilot Training, Vance Air Force Base, Oklahoma. Cadet Savannah Easler from Rockport, Maine, of Pauli Murray College. Service assignment, Information Operations Officer. First assignment, Information Operations Training in Hurlbut Field, Florida. Cadet Corey Fan from Phoenix, Arizona, of Trumbull College. Cadet Andrea and Katie Callow from Allentown, New Jersey, the University of New Haven. Service assignment, Nuclear and Missile Operations Officer. First assignment, Nuclear Missiles Training, Vandenberg Space Force Base, California. Cadet Nazar Katie Callow from Allentown, New Jersey, of the University of New Haven. Service assignment, Nuclear and Missile Operations Officer. First assignment, Nuclear Missiles Training, Vandenberg Space Force Base, California. Cadet Chardonnay McCogg from Bloomfield, Connecticut, of Southern Connecticut State University. Service assignment, Clinical Nurse Officer. First assignment, Eglin Air Force Base, Florida. Cadet Haroon Muhammad Ali from Plano, Texas, of Branford College. Service assignment, Cyber Officer. First assignment, Cyberspace Training, Keesler Air Force Base, Mississippi. Cadet Sean O'Hagan from Rockville Center, New York, of Quinnipiac University. Service assignment, Civil Engineer, Mechanical Officer. First assignment, McConnell Air Force Base, Kansas. Cadet Jack Thompson from Quaker Hill, Connecticut, of the University of New Haven. Service assignment, Civil Engineering Officer. First assignment, Grand Forks Air Force Base, North Dakota. Cadet Kylan Smith from Plain City, Ohio, of Silliman College. Service assignment, Space Force Officer. First assignment, Space Force Officer, Initial Qualifications Training Course, Peterson Space Force Base, Colorado, following graduate study at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in a round of applause for our graduating seniors. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the benediction and remain standing for the pass and review, service songs, and departure of the official party.
Let us pray. Holy God, we ask your blessing on each of us and on these midshipmen and cadets. Thank you for the honors given, the commitment recognized, and the ongoing community of support for these students, this program, and the future they represent. As we go from this place, a people with many stories, united in our shared purpose, send us forth with a renewed heart for service and a willingness to grow in wisdom, compassion, and mercy. In your holy name we pray, amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's ceremony. Thank you for attending.